Hello friends, welcome to Read With Me. Today we will be reading Roses Are Pink, Your Feet Really Stink by Diane de Groat. And in the title I hear pink and stink. They are rhyming words. And this book is about Valentine's Day. And a lot of times on Valentine's Day we think of poems, and most poems rhyme. There's Gilbert with paper and hearts, and the author wrote, "Violets are blue, roses are red, two children's librarians, 'nough said." She dedicated this book to librarians. There they were, 15 blank Valentine's cards, waiting to be filled with nice Valentine poems. They were sitting on the kitchen table in a pile as high as Gilbert's nose. Do you think Gilbert is excited about this project, having to write Valentine's cards for all of his friends? I don't think he seems very excited about this. Mrs. Bird had told them to write something nice for each classmate because Valentine's Day was about liking each other. Gilbert liked Patty a lot. She had smiley eyes and a silly laugh that made Gilbert feel silly too. He picked out the biggest card and wrote inside, "Roses are red, violets are blue, your eyes are nice, and I like you, Gilbert." Now that was a very nice poem for Valentine's Day for his friend Patty. I think Patty will like getting that card. Gilbert also liked Frank. Frank let Gilbert use his baseball mitt once when Gilbert forgot to bring his own. On Frank's card, he wrote, "Your name is Frank, it isn't Hank. You lent me your mitt, so you I thank, Gilbert." This is fun, Gilbert thought. So now he's having fun writing nice things to his friends for his homework. He continued to write nice Valentine's poems until there were 2 cards left, one for Louis and one for Margaret. Gilbert didn't want to write a nice poem to Louis. Louis once tweaked Gilbert's nose until it turned red. He didn't want to write a nice poem for Margaret either. Margaret made fun of Gilbert's glasses. So do you think he's going to listen to what his teacher told him and write nice poems, or is he going to do something else? So he didn't write nice poems. Do you think he's going to get in trouble for not writing nice things to his friends? He might get in trouble with his teacher, and that will make his classmates feel sad, and they might not want to play with him. On Louis's card, he wrote, "Violets are blue, roses are pink, your feet are big, and they really stink." Do you think Louis is going to like getting this card? No, I think it will make him feel sad because those are not nice words. Would you like getting a card like this on Valentine's Day? I doubt it. It would make you feel sad. Gilbert thought the poem was funny, but maybe Louis wouldn't. Maybe he would tweak Gilbert's nose when he read it. Gilbert didn't want Louis to tweak his nose again, so he didn't sign his name. He signed it Margaret. Uh-oh. Gilbert wrote Margaret on the card that he is giving to Louis. So now not only did he write something mean, he's also lying because he doesn't want Louis to get mad at him. On Margaret's card, he wrote, "Roses are red, you wet your bed. I think that you have rocks in your head." Is that a nice Valentine? No. Do you think Margaret is going to like this Valentine? No. Would you like this Valentine? No, and I don't think that Gilbert would like to get a Valentine like this either. Gilbert liked the poem, but he didn't think Margaret would. He didn't want Margaret to say mean things to him again, so he signed the card Louis. So now Margaret is going to think Louis wrote this card. I don't believe that Gilbert is making good choices. On Valentine's Day, Gilbert walked to school with 15 cards and a tin of Valentine cookies that his mother had baked for the party. Mrs. Bird let everyone open their cards. One of Gilbert's cards had X's all over the envelope, so he opened it first. It said, "Roses are red, violets are blue, you are my friend, and I like you." It was signed Patty. Gilbert smiled at Patty, and Patty giggled back. See, that makes him feel nice, because Patty wrote something nice. Gilbert opened the rest of his cards. They were all very friendly. Even Louis had written a poem for him. "You may be small, you're not very tall, but I like the way that you play ball." Louis. Louis, who tweaked Gilbert's nose, wrote him something nice. Gilbert was happy that Louis liked the way he played ball. And Margaret wrote, "Sometimes you are very sweet. I hope you brought nice cookies to eat. Love, Margaret." Even Margaret, who made fun of his glasses, wrote him a nice poem. But did Gilbert write nice poems to them? No. Gilbert smiled to himself. Margaret thought that he was very sweet. He looked over at Margaret. She wasn't happy with one of her Valentines. What Valentine do you think Margaret is reading? That's right, the mean one that Gilbert wrote. She stuck her tongue out at Louis. Louis wasn't happy with one of his Valentines either. He stuck his tongue out at Margaret. Margaret pushed Louis. Louis called Margaret a bad name. Look, Gilbert is making Margaret and Louis have a fight. Mrs. Bird said, "Quiet, please. Valentine's Day is about liking each other, not about fighting." She made the class do workbooks for the rest of the morning. Everyone was mad at Louis and Margaret, even Gilbert. Should Gilbert be mad? No, he's the one that caused it. Gilbert is the one that created their fight. And he should have stood up and said, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake. I wrote mean Valentines." When it was reading time, Margaret looked through all of her Valentines again and said, "I have 2 Valentines from Louis, a good one and a bad one." Louis said, "I didn't write a bad one. Someone else wrote my name." He looked through his own pile of cards and said, "I have 2 Valentines from Margaret and none from Gilbert." So now they figured out that Gilbert wrote the mean ones. Then he shouted, "Oh no! Gilbert wrote the bad cards and signed our names." And Mrs. Bird said, "Quiet, please." At lunch, nobody wanted to sit near Gilbert, not even Patty. He had to sit all by himself. When he peeked over his carrot and banana sandwich, he could see Patty and Louis giggling at their table. Look, he was not nice, so nobody wants to sit around him. And over here are Patty and Louis having a good time. At lunch, Gilbert wondered if Louis thought Patty had smiley eyes and a silly laugh too. He saw Margaret eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich like she did every day. Gilbert liked peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and wished that he was eating one too. Do you think Gilbert's feeling sorry for writing those mean Valentines? I hope so, and I hope he learns his lesson that he's going to be nice. At recess, nobody played with Gilbert, and Gilbert was very sorry that he had written 2 mean and nasty Valentines. See, nobody wants to play with him because he was not nice, and they don't want him to be not nice to them. When they were all lined up to go inside, Patty finally asked, "Why did you write bad things about your friends, Gilbert?" "Because Louis tweaked my nose," Gilbert said, "and Margaret made fun of my glasses." Louis said, "I'm sorry I tweaked your nose, Gilbert. You can tweak mine if you want." Gilbert gave Louis's nose a little tweak, but it didn't turn red. And Margaret said, "I'm sorry I made fun of your glasses, Gilbert. I will wear them for the rest of the day. She put on Gilbert's glasses, but she couldn't see anything, and Gilbert couldn't see anything, so she gave them back. That wouldn't be good, to be walking around and not being able to see anything. In art class, Gilbert made 2 new Valentines out of red paper and lace. Who do you think he's going to give those Valentines to? Do you think maybe to Louis and Margaret? Maybe he will apologize in them? During spelling, Gilbert wrote a new poem for Louis. Violets are blue, roses are pink. I'm sorry I said that your feet really stink. So he is apologizing. That is a good thing to do. Then Gilbert thought of something nice about Margaret. He liked the way she always smelled like peanut butter and jelly, so he wrote a new poem for her. Roses are red, jelly is sweet, you smell as good as the sandwich you eat. Then in math, Gilbert figured out that he had 364 more days before he would have to write any more Valentines. Do you think next year he's going to write all nice Valentines? He learned his lesson and he's not going to write mean ones? I hope so. Finally, it was time for the party. Gilbert gave the new cards to Louis and Margaret, and he passed out the cookies that his mother had baked. And look, we have Margaret and Louis here reading their new nice Valentines. And each cookie said, Happy Valentine's Day. I hope that you have a happy Valentine's Day. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And thank you if you have already subscribed to my channel. I really appreciate your support. If you have not subscribed, please consider subscribing. Until next time.